Now we're told Mayor Tom Barrett is ready to talk about this big announcement. Let's hear from the mayor.
The convention that is planned for the week of August 17th here in the city of Milwaukee. And I would say that all of these changes have been driven by the pandemic that we are experiencing, not only here in the state of Wisconsin, but as a nation. But it will significantly change this convention and the experience that individuals will have here in the city of Milwaukee. There is some good news. The convention will continue. It is going to be the week of August 17th, and it's going to be 4 nights here in the city of Milwaukee. And over the last few months, whenever I've been asked about this issue, I've said repeatedly, there are several things I know for certain. One is that the Democrats are going to hold their convention here in the city of Milwaukee, and that they're going to nominate their next candidate for president here in the city of Milwaukee. And both of those statements have borne out to be true. What I've also said repeatedly is the key word following that is nimble, because no one could have ever predicted what we have experienced as a nation, as a world, as a city over the last 4 months. And given the events of the last 4 months, and just given the events of the last couple of days, it's impossible to predict what the convention setting will be, specifically the week of August 17th. One of the other things that I have said, though, repeatedly, and this has been borne out by the announcement that the Democratic National Committee is making today, is that public health would be paramount. Public health of delegates, public health of attendees, and public health of those of us who live here in the city of Milwaukee. And to that end, the Democratic National Convention has announced today that it is asking state delegations not to travel to Milwaukee. What this means, in essence, is that the voting will occur virtually. And although there still will be events here in the city of Milwaukee, the delegations themselves are being asked not to travel to the city of Milwaukee. For every convention, there are also auxiliary events. There is an opening night delegate event. There is a media event. There is a volunteer event, which are vast undertakings and involve a lot of people, a lot of volunteers, and a lot of money. The Democratic National Convention has announced that it is not holding those events for this convention as well, which should come as no surprise to anyone. In addition, the auxiliary events that so often are current or that are held during a convention will not be held as well. What is clear is that Milwaukee will remain the stage. It will remain the national stage for the Democratic National Convention here in the city of Milwaukee. The event will not take place at the Pfizer Forum, according to the Democratic National Committee. All of the events will be moved to the Wisconsin Center, which lies approximately 2 or 3 blocks south of the Pfizer Forum. So the events will take place at the Wisconsin Center, but again, they still will take place during the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night of the week of August 17th. So these decisions are being made basically on the advice of public health experts at the national level, at the state level, at the local level, to ensure that delegates, residents of the city of Milwaukee, and others are not put in harm's way. And I'm very, very proud that public health is at the top of the list in making the decisions that are being made today. Obviously, this is not something that I'm excited about. It's something that I've always felt we as a city can be proud of, that we were chosen to host this convention, and the convention still will be here, but it will not be a convention like we have seen in past years for obvious reasons. So I just wanted to share with people the information that I have received. Conversations have been going on over the last couple of weeks about what to do, how to proceed. And again, at the end of the day, the public health concerns are paramount. And that should be no surprise to anyone when we realize that 27 states right now are experiencing new cases are increasing. There are only 13 states where the cases are mostly the same, and probably 10 to 12 cases where the cases are dropping. So unfortunately, we know that we are still in the first phase of the COVID-19 crisis. And out of an abundance of caution, the Democratic National Committee has taken these steps. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions.
This is Rebecca Clough from TMJ4. You're talking about some of the side events not taking place, do you have any idea in terms of dollars amount, what kind of loss, what kind of economic impact of this will be to the city of Milwaukee?
Well, our hope was initially when we were working on this, our hope was there would be a $200 million infusion of spending here in the city of Milwaukee. I think it's safe to say it'll be a fraction of that. There still will be a significant amount of money. I would say, for example, with the hotels, there are still going to be people in Milwaukee. There still will be members of the Democratic Party. There will be convention officials. There will be the candidates themselves who will be here. So I would say that the impact on the hotels in the city of Milwaukee probably is going to have the least negative effect. As many of you probably know, the decision was made early on to have different clusters of hotels, some of which were as far away as Chicago and Chicago suburbs. I think it's fair to say that those hotels will not be needed because we're not having state delegations that will be traveling to the city of Milwaukee for this convention. So I think there will be a significant economic impact, which is unfortunate. But for me, it was always more, I was very proud, and I still am very, very proud, that for the first time in the history of this city, for the first time in the history of this state, we were chosen to host a major political party convention. I'll always be proud of that. I think, though, in the scheme of things, when we're dealing with a pandemic and we're seeing hundreds of people, hundreds of thousands of people around the world, and here in the United States, over 100,000 people who have lost their lives to COVID-19, that helps you put things in perspective. So as disappointing as it is to me personally, and as much as I'd like to see that infusion of dollars, public health is obviously the number one concern here.
Well, there we hear Mayor Barrett giving us the rundown, basically a virtual convention, and there had been estimated that would be 50,000 people in our city for the convention. Now, scaled back significantly, that $200 million projection, obviously a lot smaller. But at the bottom line, basically what he is saying is that lives are more important. Saving lives with the pandemic, we have to be safe and we have to be responsible, Charles. It's a disappointment, but it's also something that he thinks is responsible, and that's what we need to do in this day and age.
Yeah, a major disappointment, not only for the mayor and the city, but also business leaders, restaurants, hotels, you name it. I mean, this was going to be just a big event, unlike anything we've ever seen in the city. So obviously a major disappointment, a disappointment for Pfizer Forum, for this opportunity to host this big national event. And so not surprising that this is the direction that the Democrats are going in, given the concern we are seeing about the coronavirus pandemic and the unpredictability about what August will look like, as we are seeing in other parts of the country that there has been a surge in cases.
All right, Charles, good to see the Democrats keeping the main event, though, here in Milwaukee. The Republicans pulling their big nomination night event from Charlotte, moving that down to Florida because the state of North Carolina just would not let that large event go forward because of concerns about coronavirus there.